Hello, my fellow YouTubers and subscribers, and welcome to my latest movie review. Deepest apologies for not being on recently. It's been a very hectic life, as per usual. So today I'm going to be reviewing John Wick Chapter 4, which is the fourth and presumably final film in the John Wick film series. Directed by Chad Stahelski, who directed the previous film, or films. I think he directed the last two, but I'm not sure. Stars Keanu Reeves, Laurence Fishburne, and Ian McShane. John Wick uncovers a path to defeating the High Table, but before he can earn his freedom, Wick must face off against a new enemy with powerful alliances across the globe and forces that turn old friends into foes. So, John Wick Chapter 4. Now, I'm not going to say that I adore the John Wick films. I like them. I think they're pretty good action films. They're fun, they're entertaining, they're serviceable for what they are. My dad is a massive fan of them, but my dad loves action movies. That's definitely his cup of tea. So John Wick Chapter 4 is no different to what we've seen before. I don't think this is a perfect movie. It's not a masterpiece. Like a lot of people are giving this acclaim, and I can understand that, but for me, I enjoyed the film. I thought it was good. It was a very fun, thrilling, engaging last film in this series. Is it perfect? No. It is very repetitive. The story is very similar to what we've seen before. This movie is all about the action sequences. It's all about the spectacle, and that's fine. Not to say the film doesn't have sentimentality, but I think it's few and far between. The action sequences are very impressive. They definitely stand out, and they are probably some of the best sequences in the series that we've had. But for me, I think what holds this film back is that it is quite indulgent at times, and I think this movie is way too long for its own good. This movie clocks in at like 2 hours 49 minutes or something. It is really long. I think it's way too long for what this is. I think some of the sequences go on for quite a long time. But don't get me wrong, this is the best looking film of the four John Wick films. The cinematography, wow. The cinematography is amazing. And I have to give credit where it's due to the filmmakers, because they have made this look the best that it can be. The lighting, the colours, it's so vibrant. Considering that some of the scenes in this film are quite dark in terms of the killing and the violence, it is kind of ironic and kind of interesting how brightly coloured it is. There's a really long, extensive sequence at a club, which involves a bit of a chase and a bit of a fight, and it's really well lit. All I can say is it looks the business. This movie looks how all action movies should, and I think the John Wick films definitely set the precedent for action movies that look great. At the very least, Chad Stahelski cares about what he's making. He cares about how it looks. He cares about how it feels. And this definitely feels like the most epic of the series. It is grounded. It is on a massive scale. And the tension gradually rises as the film goes on. And you feel the stakes are at their highest. And it's pretty much all or nothing for this film. That being said, again, because it's an action film, it is quite repetitive to the previous ones. It's basically more of the same. There isn't much else to it. The story is not a story that you can invest in as much, unless you're a diehard fan of the series. It's just, once again, John Wick and the High Table going against each other. There's not a lot of change in terms of the story, so they could have done something to kind of refresh the script a bit, because it just feels very like, okay, I've been here, seen this before, kind of thing. What I will say, however, is the cast are really good. I think Keanu is, well, he's just great. You know, he's made for this part, let's be honest. Keanu Reeves is one of those actors who, he's a bit up and down. There are certain characters where he's not very good, and there are certain characters when he is very good. And I think in this, he is very good. John Wick has definitely become one of his signature characters, and you can tell he loves the part. Even if not all the line delivery is great, I still think that he kicks ass as this character. That makes up for some of his line delivery. I mean, when John Wick doesn't always speak, but when he does speak, it's only there when it needs to be, and I think that works. And I've enjoyed seeing the journey of this character, how it all started, you know, when he lost his wife and this whole conflict with the High Table. I think it's a very interesting premise. But I think this is about as far as it should go. I don't think there should be or will be a fifth movie. I think this is, as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty final. As for the rest of the cast, Laurence Fishburne returns. He's great. Bill Skarsgard plays the villain. The character's a bit meh, but like he's just kind of a throwaway villain, unfortunately. So it's a bit of a waste of Bill Skarsgard's talents, really. But he performs it as best as he can, to be fair. But it's not going to be as memorable as his performance as Pennywise, let's put it that way. Lance Reddick, who I think, if I'm correct in thinking, this actor has actually passed away, which is a real shame. He comes back. Ian McShane comes back as Winston. He plays a pretty vital role, and his kind of relationship with Wick is a bit of a centerpiece of the series. Clancy Brown as Harbinger. Marko Zaror as Chidi is also good. Donnie Yen is in this film, and once again he's playing a blind man. I don't know if Donnie Yen is actually blind, but it seems to be that every time I see him he's playing blind characters. Like in Rogue One, a Star Wars story, he plays a blind martial arts guy who is in love with the Force. In this movie he plays a blind man, I think assassin of some kind, and you know, it's a bit of a cat and mouse chase between him and John Wick, and then there's times when they have similar allegiances and whatnot, and it all builds to the end standoff between him and Wick, which I think is interesting, because the point of this film for John is to clear his name of any kind of debt he has to the High Table. He wants to basically free himself, and he wants to go and live a peaceful end. He doesn't want to do all this running around and killing anymore. He wants to just get out and have a nice life. Again, the action sequences are mind-blowing. They are spectacularly choreographed. There's no doubt about that. But again, I just found the film to be too long. I just didn't think it needed to be this long. You could have done it in 2.5 hours. I feel like cutting 20 minutes down would have definitely helped the pace, because even though it's great to have a lot of action in an action film, you do have to remember that it's not... It can affect pace. It can really affect momentum if you're constantly having action scenes. You know, you can have action fatigue, and I worry that this film suffers from that because of its length. It suffers from action fatigue at times. But again, the action is very good, so most people will probably be entertained by the action. But if you're willing to sit through a nearly 3-hour action film, then good on you. But I think a film like this, you know, doesn't need to be this long. And the ending is, I think, fitting. You know, if you're a fan of the series, I think you'll probably be satisfied with the way it ends, or you may not, depending on your perspective. For me, I thought it worked, and it was fine, and I could buy it, and it was a good resolution to this overarching story. So my overall feeling with this film is that it's a technical marvel. It's so impressive, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's nominated for an Oscar for Best Cinematography, because it deserves it. The cinematography is the best thing about it. The direction is fine. The action is pretty slick. It's just very long, so that's the only thing I will say. It's a very solid conclusion to this quadrilogy now, and I do believe that this is the final John Wick film, although there is going to be a spin-off coming with Ana de Armas, who, as we know, was in No Time to Die. So that's basically our Paloma film that we've been waiting for. But anyway, I'm going to close up by giving John Wick Chapter 4 an 8 out of 10.
You've taken everything I love from me. Now it's time I pay the price. Well, I'll be walking free.
So that's my review of John Wick Chapter 4. What do you think of this film? Please comment down below, let me know, and stay tuned for more reviews to come in the future. Please hit the like and subscribe button. So until next time, I am Pajak's Perspective. Baba Yaga.